and welcome to Dare to Disagree, your weekly episodic podcast, where we, a couple of regular dudes, just go ahead and make sure that we tell you guys exactly what the fuck you're doing wrong with your lives and how to fix it. I'll be your host, Jonathan Nestor out of California,
This is Alone in the Dark in Colorado.
and that'll be the show for today. Our resident puppet master is still at undisclosed locations. I'll just tell you guys, he's out there making sure Donald Trump machine keeps moving forward.
Yeah, God bless him.
God bless him for doing that work, supposedly. I'm not a big fan. And as for Cold Conscience, our resident second black person, he's in California trying his damnness to touch white women.
Poor bastard.
It's watching him exist in California is like watching a Wile E. Coyote sketch. He just gets so close before he blows himself up every time.
Yep.
Every time. You heard about the bee sting incident, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, just quick side story for you guys before we get into the show. He was dating a girl, everything was great, and as a positive comment, he stated to her that, she's got those bee sting tits, which he said later on he believed was a positive statement. And we're all sitting around going, we've never heard this statement, but it absolutely sounds negative. How did you not hear that when you said it? Needless to be said. But in hindsight, based on how she broke up with him, he might have saved himself some headache down the line. So it all worked out. But anyway, you wanna go first?
We'd say that, but I think she saved herself a lot of fucking headaches.
I think both parties walked away with mutual advances.
Poor girl. So what I wanted to talk about is they actually finally started coming out with a TV series, if I remember right, for the Dark Tower series. And what that is the Dark Tower series is Stephen King's, what's that, magnus opus, I think, if I'm saying that right, which is his, a lot of artists have, something that they consider, this is my premier work of art, this is the most incredible thing I've made, or it's the most important thing to me, at least, blah, blah, blah. The Dark Tower series was 7 or I think 8 books now. I think they came out with another one that revolves around the storyline of the gunslinger, Roland, going through his life. And it's a interesting storybook because if you read a lot of Stephen King books like I do, a lot of his books link back to the Dark Tower series. They all kind of exist in the same universe type thing, And mostly in most of his books, it doesn't really come across. The thing about Stephen King is something that I appreciate about him is he doesn't spend a whole lot of time explaining what's going on. Okay, what he does, or what's the reason by what's going on, that he doesn't really worry himself with. I mean, hey, this is some bad shit going on, and here's how people are dealing with it. And he's going through about their stories. A lot of times you never understand why this is going on, why this fucking ghost is attacking these people, or whatever the fuck it is, You just kind of follow along with the story of how the people are dealing with it, you know what I mean? So when it happens in a lot of his books, when it refers back to the Dark Tower series, if this is the only book you read, you kind of pass that off as just more of his freaking, this crazy shit going on that he's not going to fully explain, and you just kind of, he alludes to it, Now, the interesting thing about the Dark Tower series is the main character is like a old cowboy from like the spaghetti western type things. That's specifically how Stephen King modeled him after. A freaking spaghetti western cowboy. A lot of people link him to Clint Eastwood. That's kind of, he's had a few artist renderings of the thing. Of course, it wasn't until quite a while after the books came out that he ever gave an artist render. But it linked him to looking and acting a lot like a Clint Eastwood cowboy character, So it's an interesting thing. Now, the reason why this is coming to a head right now is they decided this a while ago, but then finally some pictures came out. Since the U.S. are mostly picture book type people, Idris Elba has been cast as the gunslinger, the main character in the freaking the story. Okay, for people who don't know who that is, he's a pretty prolific actor. The latest famous movies he's been in has been the Thor movies. He's what's the name of his character there?
He's Helmdale. He's the guardian of the gates of Asgard, which, you know, Asgardians tend to be a very interesting shade of skin.
Yeah, noticeably.
The whitest. Yeah, noticeably light, which Idris Elba is not, which it caused a little bit of a row, but because it was comic books, a lot of people just kind of let it roll.
He's real street, as some people would say.
as Roger Moore said when they try to bring him up in the James Bond conference, the street is one of the most uppity, high-end dudes called street, just because he's black. It was just, that was one of the few times where it was just everybody just saw that and just went, okay, that's just blatant, you know, racism. Because that Idris Elba has never done, and even when he tries to act in movies where he's street, he still comes off way too cultured for being in the streets.
Yeah, exactly. He seems like the type of guy that would turn up his nose to you if you're drinking your fucking tea wrong. You know, and the thing to me is when the pictures came out, which for some reason my computer's not letting me show images right now, but he has a good fit, you know. But people are throwing fits about this. Okay, it's been a really rageful fucking type thing. Now, the thing I'm curious about is if they are completely wrong for the fit they're throwing. Okay, because if you read a lot of Stephen King books and then you go and watch the movie, a thing that has been pissing Stephen King fans off since the beginning of fucking time is the story getting changed or key elements being destroyed, and the whole, you know, this incredible book gets turned into a fucking B movie, maybe even C, you know, some straight to DVD bullshit. And
Langoliers suffered that.
Yes, Langoliers is one of them. I still think it was a pretty good movie, but you know, it took some key elements out of the book out of there. You know,
it did. So did the Stand. Also, kind of had some heat for that too, because they changed some major parts of it. I think the only movie that translated directly, the only two movies that translated pretty well to screen from Steve seem to be Misery and Carrie. Two movies. Oh well, and The Green Mile. Even though they changed significant things from all of those, these seem to be the ones that when they went to movies, anyway, in my opinion, I didn't hear a lot of flack about it.
Yeah. And what was another one? It was something about like the fog or
the Mist.
Yeah, The Mist. That one they changed. That was one of his books. Yeah. They changed
the ending, but it actually ended up being better.
Yeah, that's what Stephen King himself said. He's like, man, that ending was better than what I wrote. I wish because the way Stephen King ended the book was open-ended. You know, they're fleeing, they're running, they're trying to find salvation. Nobody knows if they're ever gonna fucking survive. You know?
Spoiler alert.
Yep. Fuck them, that's like a 30-year-old book.
It is.
But so here's them changing a pretty key out, because he is listed as white several times in the book. You know, it isn't like some generic character that, you know, nobody really knows. Like, who are they all pissed about the Hunger Games? That little black girl, I can't remember her name.
I know who you're talking about. I didn't bother looking
into people were pissed off that she was black, even though I'm pretty sure in the book they said something about her having like a darker skin color, like a caramel skin color or something like that. You know, pretty much saying she's not fucking white. People had a panic attack that little girl was cast as a black girl. She was black. You know, people did it in Harry Potter too. The Chinese girl who is specifically listed as Chinese, and I'm pretty sure her last name was Cho, was cast by a Chinese actress, and people were pissed because they thought she was white. You're stupid. She, that was her. She was an Asian character in the book. They found an Asian actress to play her. Now you're mad. That's ridiculous. Okay. But the thing for me on here of why I could see the point of why people are pissed about this particular, like when we're talking about James Bond, I don't give a shit what race James Bond is. You know, I like the fan theory, you know, and I'm pretty sure the movies kind of disagree with it. But you know, there's that theory that James Bond is not a person. That's the title that comes with his position. You know, his real name isn't James Bond. That's just the fucking his title. You know, so this is why he keeps getting replaced. And you know, one thing I like about James Bond is a lot of the actors portray him really differently.
Yep.
You know, the fucking Sean Connery James Bond and the Roger Moore James Bond, drastically different. You know, now this new guy, I can't remember his name now.
Daniel Craig.
Daniel Craig, another really different fucking character. So it makes a lot of sense that they're replacing James Bond with newer or with different people. So he's still in this position. He's still got this training. He's just a different type of person, you know.
And there is precedent for that too. In the latest James Bond, they've made it clear. They show not just the latest. They've shown in older James Bond, other characters going from one person to the next. Like Quartermaster Q.
Yeah.
He's handed his mantle over to another Q in James Bond movies.
Yeah,
same with
that.
Yeah, with the guy who used to be Monty Python, kind of getting handed the mantle from the guy that used to be Q before. Yeah. And in more modern movies, what's her name? Mother or M?
Yeah, yeah.
She just died recently, and they have a new person. I don't think he's called M, but same thing. So there is a precedent of like those titles don't stick. They move on from person to person.
I think the issue with it that kind of breaks down that the theory is on one of the James Bonds, he goes and visits his parents' grave, and their surname is Bond.
Bond, yeah.
So that, and I think there's something else too, but that was a big thing that really threw that theory for a curve. Well, you know, apparently his parents wouldn't have to change their fucking names.
Yeah.
So that doesn't make any sense. But I like that idea. I think the movie should run with that. You know, I think they should take that and fucking go. It's a great fucking theory that works well for the character. You don't have to explain why your James Bond looks different or is different. You know, it's a great idea. You know, you can even have it in the movie where he gets changed over in the middle of the movie. Maybe dude gets killed right at the beginning. Boom, new James Bond moves into his place. You know, that would be a wildly different. Because then, you know, that's my issue with a lot of these movies, like James Bond or shit like that, where you know there's going to be another one. They can't. He's not going to die. I know that. Okay, he's got a laser pointed at his dick, and fucking he's been poisoned. Blah blah blah. There's a nuclear bomb he's sitting on. He's going to live. They have to, because there's going to be a James Bond number 62 next year. You know. So if they ran with that theory, they could kill him. You could get emotionally. I mean, they could kill Daniel Craig. Imagine that happening. You know, these people have been invested in this James Bond, and boom, dude is dead.
Get emotionally.
Now you're scared. Now you're like, holy shit, this guy could die because the series won't end. You know. But back to the Dark Tower series, the issues I could see coming from that. Okay, number one, when he meets one of the other main characters, she's a black woman from, I think, the 1960s, 1950s, 1960s, right? And she hates the living shit out of him because he's white. And she hates the white man, as I'm pretty sure most black women in the 1960s should. Okay? So that kind of destroyed, I mean, and there was like half the book of them dealing with that and trying to work past it, that's gone now. Okay? Another issue is with him changing races is the way the storyline works is like it's kind of in the multiple dimensions theory, you know, where there's all kinds of different dimensions and blah blah blah. You know, some of them you might be married to your fucking friend or whatever the fuck, you know. On this one, the Gunslinger's dimension and ours are like right next to each other, so they bleed through a bit. Okay.
Yeah.
One of the bleeding things is the whole story of King Arthur is actually what really happened in the Gunslinger's dimension, in the Gunslinger's world. and he is a fucking descendant of King Arthur. Matter of fact, and this might I don't even know if it can come into the movies anymore, so fuck it, I might be spoiling this for you. The guns he carries is melted down from the sword that King Arthur carried.
Yep.
They used the steel from that sword. It was the only steel good enough to make these guns to be melted down. Now, how you could have a black descendant of King Arthur, I don't know. I mean, they could change the entire fucking race of them. It's a whole different dimension. It's a whole different world. You know, maybe it's a whole big, maybe King Arthur was black, or maybe just like a lot of families do, there's been interracial mixing. You know, maybe they'll sell that as how what is that called? Like how utopic the world was that Roland lived in. That the races didn't matter anymore. There's a bunch of race blending. You know, they moved past all that.
That could even explain why he's so much of an outsider and comfortable in that role.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, maybe he is the one of the few freaking black descendants of that. So,
unloved stepchild.
In my opinion, number one, if they're gonna do a series of 8 fucking Stephen King books, which at least 4 or 5 of them are bigger than the fucking Bible, they're gonna have to cut some shit. So if they cut that shit of the racism issues between him and the other girl, it's not a big deal. They have so much more material to go across that it wouldn't be any great loss. She can hate him for a totally different reason, you know. I mean, I think that's totally fucking possible. You know what I'm saying? Another thing, you know, it could be just like we said. There's been a lot of race mixing inside this utopic fucking world that they live in, you know, or that they did live in, that this guy was born into. That maybe that's how he freaking became black. King Arthur was white. He's just one of his descendants that happens to be black, you know? So I could see it. Those are the only 2 real main sticking issues with that. And I don't think they're a big deal. Me being a huge fan of Stephen King and that series, you know?
Well, there's a third option, which is absolutely not going to happen, but it just hit me while you were talking how much it would blow people's minds. If the girl was white and she hated him for being black.
Yeah, I mean, I think the issue with that is because she's pulled from the timeline she was.
Yeah.
Her race is pretty important too.
It's a very important sticking point for that angle. Oh yeah, no, for sure.
Yeah.
I was just saying, throwing a third option out there.
But I mean, maybe they could do something like that, you know. But
I doubt it. Not that clever. I doubt
it. Her life story really bases around that too, being a black woman in the 1960s. You know, it really ties to that too. So I don't know. I don't think it'd be all that difficult for them to go in and make another reason for her to hate him. And really, she had other reasons to hate him. You know, so I think they could do it. I think people are making a way bigger deal of this than they really should. You know, like it's not that fucking big of a deal, the color of this guy. And in their defense, though, I think their issue is, you know, this is kind of ties back to this Donald Trump thing. Do I think there's an element of racism why people flock to him? Yes, absolutely. Okay. Do I think that's all of the reason, or even the reasons for the majority of the people that support Donald Trump? No, I don't. Okay. Same thing with this. I do think there's an element of racism for some of the people bitching about this. But at the end of the day, there's also a lot of people who have been burned by fucking Stephen King books that they loved, go see the movie, and it's been twisted and fucking destroyed until it's practically not even the same story anymore, you know? And that's what some people were saying in there, you know, and I think there's something else that they're playing. Somebody's like, listen, if you want to go make a movie like this, that's fine. Just don't put the Dark Tower's name on it. Go make your own story. Use elements of the Dark Tower. If you're going to twist this out of shape where it's not the same story, why waste the time? Well, why they're going to waste the time is because that name carries a lot of weight, and that's going to bring in more viewers, you know?
Now, I understand that whole point. Now, of course, like with most things, I agree with you on almost all of it. But there is a thing here that needs to kind of be addressed about the people who are complaining here. Because at this point, I think if in this modern age, you're going to this movie and you're still having hangups about things like they changed his race or they changed the story. You just need to get over it. You need, because we've lived past seeing a bunch of our favorite movies and a bunch of our favorite properties get either turned into something amazing, like we mentioned earlier with the fog or the mist, I don't remember the name, or, you know, something terrible, like, I'm trying to think of a better one. Like, oh, Avatar, The Last Airbender, just
Jesus.
completely twisted and destroyed from what it was, to the point where the actual actors
This is him. Can you see what I'm displaying right now?
in it, hold on, I'm looking right now, but the actors in the movie couldn't even properly enunciate the names that were already said on the TV show. These characters were yeah, I see it. These characters were named on the TV show. The names were verbally said several times, and when it came to the movie, they still couldn't properly say the names.
Yeah.
So we've experienced this enough to know that Hollywood, for whatever reason, whether it's practical reasons or time constraints or filming reasons or aesthetic reasons, chooses to completely flip the script on a story, right?
Yeah.
Not a new expectation. So at this point, I think if you're still one of those people who gets hurt over that, you really just need to grow up and move on, man. You got bills to pay. Do other shit.
Just vote with your fucking wallet. Don't go see it. You know?
Yeah, exactly. I agree with you, because I was one of the guys who, when I watched the Thor movie and Heimdall came on and he was black, I kind of threw a mini fit in the movie theater. It was still awesome, and this is not a knock against Idris Elba. He was a fantastic character, and he played the role so well, I moved past it. But it was a little annoying going like, this is supposed to be like an Aryan utopia, and the gatekeeper is black.
Yeah.
I don't know. But somebody corrected me. Somebody, actually, a comic book nerd, corrected me on that case, because his argument was, well, when these people used to conquer other races, their utmost respect that the Vikings had were for combatants, not so much race. Race was a big deal, yes, but combatants were more important. That's why if you look at Thor's best friends in those movies, it's one is like an Italian dude, another one's like an Asian dude, another one's like a Thai dude, another one's a woman, always ranked higher. And in this world where the movie is set, combat ability is the highest ranking for the gods, what elevates you to God. Yeah, but that's an assumption. that's I think in this day and age, if you see that and you see the gunslinger walking out and he turns out to be black in the movie, and your first reaction is like, what the fuck, man? It's like, just move on.
You know what's kind of
They're
funny?
not gonna. I don't know if they've ever changed the casting based on that.
What's kind of funny is this is where this shit could go wrong, okay? Which is The Witcher. Okay, I don't know if you've been playing that. Those people just got I mean the designer or something like that, you know, one of the main guys of it. People were fucking
No, not yet. I'm getting to it.
People were badgering him because there was no black people in The Witcher. You hear me, dog?
Yeah, I hear you.
Yeah. So the interesting part is where this fucking thing is based, and in the time frame, there was no black people. It was in Poland, written by a Polish author about fucking Poland a couple hundred years ago. There was really no freaking black people there, you know? And that was kind of during a time when races weren't really mixing, you know, quite at all, especially during those times.
Yep.
And I'm pretty sure, and someone might correct me about that, there was no, you know, real what's that called, immigration to and from Poland, especially not all the way down to sub-Saharan Africa.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
when this guy was called out for it, he's like, listen, he's like, it's a fantasy series, but we're trying to base it, and that's just how it works, you know? And he's like, you know, look, you could look at any documents from that time frame. The area he was in was like 99.99999% white. That's just how it was, you know? He's like, I have no issues. I'm pretty sure he's made a few other games where he's had people of color in it. He's like, it's just this one, it doesn't fit. And
Yep.
people have been tearing his ass off on Twitter saying he's a racist or blah, blah, blah. He's a fucking apologist and blah, blah, blah. I don't know about that. That's a little ridiculous to me.
Well, that's another thing. This is where Puppet Master gets his shine. He's right. There is a certain knee-jerk reaction to race, and again, both sides are justified. Because yes, it's if you're a minority of any type and you approach a situation, you always have to keep in the back of your mind, like, is this a race issue? I'm not sure. So, but I don't think the way to handle it is you don't solve this problem by immediately going for the worst case scenario before you fix it. So attacking this guy for being racist is stupid. But and obviously has a story to tell and he has a context to tell it in. So sometimes you're not going to be able to bring racism into a story like that. That would be like getting mad at a movie about pregnancies because there aren't enough men. It's like, sometimes it doesn't fit the story, man. That's a little silly. So I don't know. We'll get to it. The good news is, and I don't know if you're feeling this, to me it's the good news. I feel like more than ever, I'm having conversations with people just going, nah, it's not that big a deal. Just let it go. Like more often than not, that's how, then again, I am also based in California. So, but more often than not, I talk to people and when it gets to this race thing, more often than not, I walk away from them and we both said our piece and we both understand each other and we have no qualms about it. Yeah. But there's still a core group of people I'll see. Like I have some people I work with who, at least one of them has been known to immediately go to the race. We were talking about Donald Trump this morning. I think Donald Trump is a racist. And I was like, I could see that. You're not wrong. He's like, yeah, I think Hillary Clinton is a racist too. I was like, yeah, I can see that. I was like, I think Bill Clinton's a racist too. I was like, whoa. I don't know about that one, buddy. Like, I don't know if you've paid attention to Bill over the last few years. I don't think his dick discriminates. But, he was pretty adamant. And then basically what turned out to be is the person I was talking to was actually a racist too. It was just racist to white people. So it was kind of funny.
You can't be racist to white people, dude. Tumblr told me that.
Yeah, I heard that too, and yeah, that's also bullshit. But but it's just one of those. I think more than not, it's getting better. It's getting better. I think the conversation being had over and over is actually working, even though we don't see it. We're so busy focusing on the negative. We don't see the progress we've had to the point where we can have a full-on conversation about it on national TV. And, the whole world doesn't fall into a riot.
Yep. And I think another part of it that will help fix it more than any talking or chanting or picketing or any of that is minority. And I think it said by 2055 or something like that, minorities are becoming a bigger and bigger part of the country. And eventually will be the majority, Now, people get that confused. That doesn't mean by 2055 or by 2055 or something like that white people will be a minority.
Extinct, exactly. Yeah, I've heard that.
They'll still be a majority. It's just they'll be less than 50%. Okay, so let's say there's 40% white people, 27% black people, 10% Mexicans, 5% Asians, 5% others. White people still are the most. It's just they're not over 50%. They're not more than all the fucking other
minorities combined.
Like I saw some comedian joking about that one time. Like they're saying that white people are that minorities outnumber white people in a whatever the fuck state. How ridiculous is that? White people still calling minorities when they are the majority. No, you're misunderstanding. They're taking all the minority groups and putting them in one fucking thing, and that's more than white people. Each individual group, white people still outnumber. That makes them the majority. These other people the minorities. That's how the math works. Yep. But as that increases, now it becomes fiscally responsible for you to cater to these groups. You know, now it's not a thing about, hey, we want to look good, you know, we don't want feminists pissed off at us and blah blah blah. No, now if black people are, you know, a good, I mean, what are you guys are like 17% right now, I think, right? Black people make up 30.
That's a huge chunk of money.
Yeah, if black people start making up 30 or 40% of the fucking population, the biggest racist in the world is going to say, "I need that money. We're gonna fuck." You know, and Malcolm X talked about that. You know, he was like, if we could get white people to band together, you know, there's farmers, fucking what are those called? Where like they all get together and vote together. I can't remember. They're like
Not
voting
sure.
blocks. Okay. So the farmers have been, if you look at how farmers have a lot of benefits for them. And that's because they all banded the fuck together, bought themselves some fucking lobbyists, and they all kind of linked together when they would need to vote. Oh, you're a governor? You don't like us having farmers subsidies? Guess what? 40% of your goddamn state is going to vote one way or the other. You better fix it. That's what Malcolm X talking about. I was like, we make up, if there's X amount, you know, X millions of black people in the U.S., if we all band together, it doesn't matter if any politician's the most racist motherfucker in the world. He's going to bend to those millions and millions of votes he could win or lose by what he says to us. He has a good point, you know. If black people and other minorities are making up 50% of the nation, it's no longer fiscally responsible for you to make a game with just white people in it.
Yep.
So, and there's different ways people do it. Like, I hate when people make it like the Ghostbusters, for example. Okay, that all-female Ghostbusters movie that's coming out. Perfect example of people changing something just to change it and making it terrible. Okay, like I was watching some of the previews for it, and I mean, I'm sure everybody's watched the original Ghostbusters. What was the black actor's name in there?
I know who you're talking about. Jesus.
That's way too long.
Go ahead. Yeah, no, that's way too old. Give me a second. I'll find it, but go ahead.
But when he comes into the movie, you know, he was the outsider that kind of joins the Ghostbusters over the course of the movie, right? The thing is he was an extremely intelligent guy, extremely good at what he did, okay? Mm-hmm. That's why they wanted him.
His name was Ernie Hudson.
Ernie Hudson. Yeah, I would have never fucking got that.
Yeah, I would have never got that. No way.
He was an incredible fucking person, which is why they did their best to recruit him, you know? Then he switched to this new Ghostbusters where it's an all-female or all-female cast. The black chick in there, you know, who's supposed to be kind of his counterpart, is a fucking idiot who, like, is jumping, you know, like, doing these crazy, like, oh, Jesus, there's a ghost. Oh, God, what am I supposed to, what?
Yeah.
That's not the same character at all. He was an extremely intelligent, valuable person. They twisted her into some sort of southern fucking idiot.
Yeah, well, her hilariously, to quote you from earlier, her goal, based on what those trailers seem like, is she's the scientists are supposed to be awkward and unable to function in normal society. That's why they're so brilliant, because they're, you know, one-track minded about the science of it. And she's the human element that can make them understand functioning in normal society and the streets. And she's familiar with the locale, so she can get them around. So they're not making her to be valueless. She's invaluable, but they definitely lowered the profile of the original character, because the original character that she was supposed to be based off was everything this girl is and brilliant.
Yeah. I don't know, man. It looks, and you know what's funny is I think that has like the most amount of, well, it's like vying for the most amount of down votes in like fucking history on YouTube.
Yeah, it's they have a tall order to go against, because I mean they were already going against the loved franchise, then admitting that it wasn't a sequel but like just kind of a standalone thing inspired by the original. That already engendered a lot of hate. Yeah, no, it's supposed to be. It was originally hinted as a sequel, like all these people are follow throughs from what happened before. But recently, we discovered that that's not the case. This is actually a brand new reinterpretation of Ghostbusters.
See, my issue is the original Ghostbusters did it right because his race meant practically nothing to the movie.
Yeah.
Which is how it should be. That's how the world should be. You know, with this one, all these white women, the other three white women, are all like accomplished, intelligent scientists. The black woman's like this fucking street smart, which usually means you're stupid. Okay, walking stereotype.
And it's funny.
She's dragging down the culture instead of being like the original Ghostbusters, where your race is put to the side. We want to know about your abilities. We need you for your abilities. Now it's like her race is front and center, and that's all she's valuable for.
It's funny you say that. I was watching one of the scenes from the movie. They had a couple of scenes, not scenes, I want to say it's still trailers. But I was watching it, and one of the gags is one of the girl goes to jump. They're at a concert, and she wants to go get a bunch of whatever is on the other side, and she jumps into the crowd and like crowd surfs her way across the crowd. So Leslie Jones, that black girl, goes to crowd surf, and the crowd drops her. And the first thing Leslie Jones says, which I have to say is delivered hilariously, it's actually very funny. The first thing Leslie Jones says is, well, okay, I don't know if that was a race thing or whatever, but, which again, it was like, okay, that's a funny line. That was a funny context. That was a funny gag. But you're exactly not comforting anybody because you're again making it clear that the race issue is a big thing in this story with this character.
Yeah. You know, an example of somebody doing it right was in the Portal series. Okay, in the Portal series, you're a first-person view. You never really see yourself, and you're kind of running around. And there was ways that you could put the portals in the right way where you could see yourself, and then you realize you were a woman.
Yeah.
It never really came up in the fucking game.
Yep.
It was just, hey, I'm a woman. Let's keep doing this. This is how it's going,
Hey, that we can go as far as the greatest reveal ever, Metroid.
Yeah. Now the way they revealed her was kind of just.
Yeah, that was super sexist. But up until that part, it was
pretty good for its time. Okay, let's not remember back then. I mean, you still slap your secretary in the ass, and there's nothing she could do about it but get fired. So it was pretty good for the time. But that's why I love that game because hey, here's a strong female character. But her being female means nothing. It's just that's who she is. Let's go on with what we're doing. Like a Bayonetta. It's not my type of games, okay? Yeah. So I'm not gonna say they're bad games. I don't know because that's not the ones I enjoy. Yeah.
No, they're good. They're good for what they do.
Her being a woman is a very important part of the whole fucking thing. It's pretty much her entire personality. Yeah. Which is why I don't really like it. There should be more to you than, oh, I'm so sexy, it's gonna make people fucking lose their minds.
Yeah, even her entire abilities are based on her womanhood. Yeah.
Yeah, and that I don't like that idea, especially for a main protagonist. Like if you're trying to the things I like, and it does kind of make for an off game, but when you get to kind of fill in the role of the protagonist, you can do that with a lot of male characters. Okay, Fallout, great fucking example of that. You're picking what this person says, and really you could be a man or a woman or whatever, but it's a silent protagonist type thing. You never really know what this person is because you're filling in for it. Halo, another one in the beginning, silent protagonist. You kind of filled in for how he's going to act. In the later games, he started talking a lot more and having his own personality. And if you notice how far that dropped, it wasn't the games it used to be.
Yeah, I noticed.
But I like when people could deal with that in a way that it just doesn't matter. What was that one game? BioShock, the latest one, the one where they're up in the Cloud City. I can't remember BioShock Infinite. Another good was, they go through a little thing right there, and there's gay couples. Every so often you'll come across a gay couple sitting having dinner or holding hands or something like that. Wasn't a part of the story. Yeah. It was just that's just what's happening. It's just background image. Perfect way to go about it. You don't need to throw it in everybody's face that this person's gay, like Will and Grace. Okay, You
Yeah.
get fucking pounded every fucking available second that this guy's gay.
All
That
puns
isn't
intended. All puns intended.
that isn't the biggest part of your personality, man. Okay, you're gay. Let's move on. What else do you have to offer? I love Condoleezza Rice. You don't hear me fucking going around every person I meet. Hey, let you know, fucking Condoleezza Rice of sexual right here. Okay, that's what you need to know about me. That's my entire fucking personality is how much I love Condoleezza Rice. You know, no,
Mhm.
that isn't important. That's up to you. That's what you do in your bedroom. You do what you want to do. Once you come out of your bedroom, though, I don't give a shit who you're fucking or who you want to fuck. What do you have to offer? You know, and that's what bothers me about how these games are being sold. You know.
Now, with the Ghostbuster things and bringing it back to the gunslinger issue, I think personally for me, I think the greatest issue, the reason they're having the most of these problems is because they're taking established, beloved franchises, maybe in other forms, but still beloved franchises, and then choosing to reinterpret them. And whenever you do that, you already know the hate you're about to get. So that better be a calculated risk. You know,
Yep.
there's some people that have absolutely pulled it off in amazing ways, like The Walking Dead. The Walking Dead absolutely pulls it off. They changed a bunch of the major things about these characters, but they still pulled off because they kept the general feel and soul of the show. With um the Idris Elba thing with the Gunslinger, the reason I'm still very much for it is Idris Elba is the kind of actor that I feel can still portray that character very well. Now, absolutely, it changes the dynamics of the story. A lot of things about this story were based on the fact that Gunslinger is white. That changes a lot of it, as you mentioned some of them already. But the actor is so good that if they can build a script that works for him, this will still carry the soul of the show. Ghostbusters is a perfect example of the exact opposite of that. You know, because we're talking here about like things that demean, you know, races and gender and stuff like that. But there's some movies where that's absolutely the point of the movie. Core example, the new um, Quentin Tarantino movie. What was it called?
Hateful Eight.
Hateful Eight. That entire movie just revels in all of the terrible things about each stereotype. You know, the black guy is all about just fucking over white people, metaphorically and physically at one point in that movie.
Yep.
You know, the girl is just a double timing succubus woman who's supposed to be this black widow who is also a racist. All the white people, you know, so but in that movie you don't hear a big backlash about it because that was the core intention of the movie. It wasn't based on something else that had to be tarnished. The movie came in like this is what it was built to be, and that was the beauty of the first Ghostbusters. It didn't even have it, the first buster Ghostbusters should have been this Ghostbusters, and the old one should have been the new one based on the way they handled it, because the first Ghostbuster would have had the excuse to use the black character as kind of a goofy guy, yada yada yada. They didn't. They rose above that, which made them cherished. The reason this movie gets so much hate, Ghostbusters, is because it's like they're purposefully dragging everybody down. Even the women, every gag in it is heavy on the fact that they're women first. It's
Yeah.
not just funny. It's every gag relies so heavily on their gender and their race more than who they are as a person. And that diminishes everything the original was. So I mean, this movie is going to be something different. I hope those gags come off the way they intend them to, but they're going to lose the love of a lot of a chunk of the audience because the audience remembers what the soul of this franchise was, and that's absolutely not what they're going for this time around. So
Yeah.
another thing we have to point out is a lot of the reason these franchises get this hate is because they're from franchises. You know, it's like if all of a sudden Fast and the Furious 7 or the Fast and the Furious franchise decided to make realistic driving, like there's an old movie by what was that guy that was super badass? Lamont. He's an actor, used to do a lot of stunt driving.
Steve McQueen.
Steve McQueen, there you go. So Steve McQueen made a movie called Le Mans about a F1 Formula race that's a big deal in Europe. And he tried to film it the most realistic possible he could and show all the excitement and all that. and it was praised years later, but at the time it was kind of panned because it wasn't exciting. It was legitimate racing. So it would be like if Fast and the Furious 7 decided to just make all the racing legitimate. Yeah, they would lose a core fan base just because it's like, no, we're here to watch a car take out a helicopter and then drive away.
Well, and here's the other thing too. If you look at like and I'm kind of going off. Maybe I'm wrong. We got some viewers who can call me wrong. Maybe it is. Maybe I am. But when you look at people who are doing really serious endeavors, like astronauts, okay, they're in a position where one wrong move could get you or fucking everybody killed. Okay. Yeah. If you look at them, how often are they really going on about their fucking gender?
Never.
Or their race? That isn't what's important, you know? So even though it's hard to talk about realistically when you talk about fucking Ghostbusters, if people are doing some shit, a bunch of scientists got together and they are doing these feats that have every chance to fucking murder them if they fuck up, their race and gender isn't gonna mean shit to them, and it shouldn't. What they can do, their capabilities, is what's gonna be important to everybody. And that's why it kind of loses me there. You know, I do. I totally understand the issue with Ghostbusters seeming to be like an all-male fucking thing. It's just a dude bro fucking event. It's a sign of its times. Okay.
Yeah.
You know, it's kind of like when your great grandpa says something like, "Yeah, these fucking Japs." You're like, ah.
But it's just grandpa.
Yeah.
Just grandpa.
Let's just keep him in the house, keep him away from strangers. You know, but we'll be okay with this. We'll deal with it. That's kind of how, you know, picking apart old movies is. Yeah, they were a sign of their times. You know, that's how it was. That's just how it works now, you know? But if we're going to move forward, let's actually move forward. If they did a Ghostbusters where it's an all-female cast or a fucking co-ed cast, but that doesn't really fucking matter, if they're just going on about how they're going to do this business, I will be a huge fan. You know, and I think Ghostbusters could really be due for a gritty fucking reboot. Think about a horror movie with the Ghostbusters. You know, I think that would be a fucking. Somebody should do that. I would definitely watch it. You at least get one ticket sale out of it. Okay.
Yeah. No. But, selling them on the idea based on one ticket.
Exactly. But I do think even if you want to have a mixed class or mixed fucking characters, totally fine with it. You know what I mean? One that did it pretty well, and even though it did become an issue, which I think it would have, realistically, Mulder and Scully from the X-Files. Scully being a woman did not diminish her in any way. You know, they dealt with a lot of other people kind of getting on her case for being a woman. You like, there's like, I mean, her sheriff that was like giving her a shitty time because she was a woman, blah, blah. But between the two of them, and really throughout the FBI, her being a woman meant nothing to nobody. She's an incredible fucking scientist, an incredible fucking investigator. That's what's important about her.
Well, let's also say Mulder made a good job kind of getting in plenty of shenanigans so they could focus on him, like getting his ass beat all the time.
Oh, yeah. Always getting his ass beat. Like usually when you're watching the show where there's like a hero type person, you know?
Yeah.
And it kind of did change when they brought in the new guy. Like, did you ever watch the older ones where they took the T-1000 actor from Terminator and he was in the X-Files?
No, it's been a while. I gotta rewatch that whole thing.
I did, man. I watched the entire fucking thing. Anyways, with Mulder, if he was in a room, like locked in a house trying to find his way out, and there was one other guy in there, Mulder might get his ass kicked. Okay?
There's a strong chance. Strong chance.
Scully gets fucking kidnapped and he has to be here. No, Mulder got fucking beat to shit all the time. So many times Scully had to save his ass. He could be carrying a gun into a room with an unarmed person, get disarmed, and get the fuck beat out of him.
Exactly. Somebody walking like, "What are you doing on the floor, Mulder?" He caught me on my blind side. I heard him say "Wall Star," and everything went black.
So that's what I think. You know, I don't want you to just change a character to make it into a woman, and that's all it's about is, oh, she's a woman. We need to force that into the story every time. change a character, make him black. Oh, that's all this is about now. Is how they're black, so they're different. No, no, that's not a fucking big deal to me. That's not a big deal to anybody. And you're driving things back by doing this.
Yeah.
You know, how ridiculous is it going to look where instead of her being an intelligent scientist in this Ghostbusters movie, she's a street smart, fucking loud mouth, fucking screaming, ignorant shit all the time. Well,
Yeah.
That's terrible. That's like blackface. You know? That's how bad that is.
It's literal blackface.
You took a black actress and had white people write for her how you think a black woman would act, and she comes out like an idiot. That doesn't make you fucking forward thinking. That's terrible.
Yeah. I tell you who's been doing just kind of a side quest, because we need to start wrapping this up. I'll tell you who's been doing an amazing job of properly representing black people and black culture, which has been really weird for me to experience. Saturday Night Live. Saturday Night Live has recently been doing a great job. Okay, the last Saturday Night Live, for example, Drake was on it, and they still have stuff for like white people to appreciate. Obviously, like they had a skit on American Ninja Warrior about American Ninja Warrior. That's total, white people fodder. But like they had a great one where they did Black Jeopardy, and the best part about watching that skit was listening to the audience not laugh at the right portions. Because the entire audience was white, so all the jokes on this thing were not aimed at them. And it was brilliantly done, because it was funny enough that it made sense to be in SNL. And if you're watching it as a white guy, you walk away just going like, it was funny, but it wasn't my favorite sketch. But if you're watching it as a black guy, it was the most hilarious sketch of the night. One of the lines at the end of it is, well, I see they're starting to play the slow jam, so that means we need to wrap it up. Now, as a white guy, all that told you is like they're playing slow jam, so we need to shut it down. But what that is that was an R&B joke. You play slow jam so that you can put condoms on to fuck chicks. I hear the slow jam, so that's my cue to wrap it up.
Yeah.
It's the entire, and it was just great because the audience did not catch it. But me and the other guy who was sitting there, both black, fucking died at that line. And he followed it up with, tune in for the 50-year anniversary of Sister Sister. Another joke that no white person would get, because Sister Sister was a typically black show that only black people watch. Like, it was just, they've been doing a great, if you guys want to see how great black humor can be done intelligently and in a smart manner without demeaning the culture while exploring the ignorant sides of the culture, without bringing us back generations. I never thought I'd say this, but SNL is your go-to place right now, man. They've been doing a bomb job properly wording these jokes. And there's even a thing in there where Leslie Jones, the black girl that actually plays the ignorant black girl in the new Blockbuster movie, she has a segment where she comes in and just talks about, issues, whatever issue. Like, I think the last one she talked about was her issue dating men and how she dates men. And her character, when she's doing that talk, is like aggressive and boisterous and over the top ignorant kind of thing. But she has a little thing where she constantly is sexually aggressive with the white guy next to her. So like she'll be saying something and he won't understand, and he'll turn to her and go like, well, okay, Leslie, what are you talking about? Like, I'll tell you, you delicious piece of white chocolate. I just want to break you into pieces. Shit like that. And it's a fun role reversal from the whole guys doing that to chicks, to seeing not just a girl, but a black girl aggressively doing that to a white guy, and then watching him get reasonably uncomfortable because of it. So I'm just saying, it's funny, this whole conversation, I kept thinking about like, oh my God, you know who did this right? SNL. Oh my God, you know who did this right? SNL. All these things we've hit, all these cues we hit. I guess I'm kind of promoting SNL right now. But yeah, if you guys want to see a proper way to do all of these terrible, terrible race jokes we're talking about, just check out the recent episodes of SNL. They do a great job with it.
Yeah, and there's fun ways to make fun of this shit without being racist. Every culture has their stupid fucking bullshit that is ridiculous that they know it. Like I was watching a comedian, I can't remember his name right now. He just got he just put a new special on Netflix, but he was
Mhm.
Italian and he was talking about like, man, we didn't even have medicine in the house when I was a kid. Like I would get a cold and my mom would start cutting potatoes, forcing it out of my face, boiling hot water sticks, and putting my face over it with a towel as I'm fucking struggling to breathe with this 180 water in my face. You know, that's funny shit.
That's
Everybody,
especially if you've experienced it. Yeah, it's hilarious.
yeah. So
That whole covered from head to toe in Vicks Vapor Rub. Ah,
yeah,
I know that story too well. I had that grandma.
exactly, man. You got a little sniffle. Did you sneeze? You
Oh
get
no
that
no
good
no no
howling.
no! Just stink for days. But yeah, so yeah, there are ways to approach this humor that does, because some people, I've heard some people defend it in the sense that, well, it's a type of humor. It's like, yeah, I know you're trying to say it's like slapstick, almost like Three Stooges, but this is, I mean, slapstick is great humor, and risque humor is great humor because you're taking a lot of risk to pull it off. The
Yeah,
disadvantage of it is when you take that risk, if you don't pull it off, you come off looking in very poor taste. And that's what just keeps happening with these movies. Like
yeah.
till this day, Transformers is ruined for me, and I haven't watched another Transformer movie since I saw a Transformer in it called Jazz that spoke jive. I was like, I'm done. I'm done. I'm out. That was my tap out moment. And people just go like, oh, well, you know, it wasn't. No, 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 no. I watched Transformers as a kid. There was no need for that. There was no need for jive, a jive talking robot called Jazz. I mean, Blackie McBlackface might as well have worked while you're
Yeah.
at it, you know? Just, I mean, for me, it was just kind of like, and for some people, it was a gag, and I see why you would think I'm going over the top. Yes, it's a movie about robots from space that speak like black people. I understand. There is a point here where I'm being a little bit ridiculous. But for me, it's just the idea that somebody somewhere sat in a room, was going through characters, and this is the character they came up with to represent the, what do they call it in TV, the urban side of the robots. Yeah, that was, no, there's so many ways you could have done that better. Or if you're going to do that, at the very least, just make the characters seem to be more than just this. If this is his heritage and his background and it's how he behaves, tell me why he's here, aside from just to be that.
Yep.
You know, if I can't find any justify, if I can make this whole movie and take this character out and he mattered that little, then yeah, no, that was, to me, that was racist.
Exactly.
You know,
Who
but
knows, man?
again,
You know, these freaking Hollywood types remind me of like when you get a new manager at your job and
mhm.
things are running okay, and he comes in and just changes shit to change shit. You
Yep,
know?
because I'm the new manager. You need to
Yeah,
know this
you
is
know
how we do
what?
it
I want the candy aisle over here now where the soda is, and then put the soda over here. Fucking why? You know?
now.
And I'm sure everybody's had to deal with it. That's what it seems to me like fucking directors and producers are when they're taking a book and making it into a movie. You know,
Yeah.
you have this world famous, critically acclaimed book, and you're like, I could do better. Probably not, dude. Probably not. You know how hard it is to get Americans to read in the first place? You gotta be pretty goddamn good to get a whole bunch of them to read your book, you know? But anyways, that's all my shit, dude.
Yeah. All right, you got any parting shots? Let's wrap this whole thing up.
My party shot is I did hear that Joe Jackson went to the hospital. Anybody think he's fucking sick right now? But
I don't know.
the good news is I'm sure Joe Jackson will furiously and viciously beat that illness. So condolences go out to you, Mr. Jackson.
That was a tasteful way to make an awful joke.
I just want to throw our fucking Dare to Disagree support his way, you know?
Fair enough. I I have two parting shots. One is quick one. Hey, conspiracy theories. Just could you give Egypt air like a week before you get going? Could you guys? I heard about it. It's to the point where I actually heard the conspiracy theory before I heard about the crash. Like, that's how ridiculous it was. Like, somebody came in my job and was like, hey, you heard about that plane that went down with all the scientists that happened to know the cure for cancer and was going to make a presentation about it? What the fuck are you talking about? Egypt Air. Google. Sure enough. Like, come on, guys. Give us some time. Give us some time to just kind of get shit around before you get going. Just and two, the second one came up while we were doing the show. You mentioned earlier about a horror movie, Ghostbusters, and that actually turned me into something I was recommended recently, which I've looked up a little bit of, and it seems to be getting pretty good reviews. It's the only, I think, well, so far I've looked around, but I haven't seen any. I haven't looked that hard, but I think it's the only horror movies, and we're saying horror with a capital H, true horror movie, Disney movies. So we spent some time at Disneyland yesterday, and we got in a conversation about movies, and we're talking about movies that were rides and rides that were movies. And I forgot that Pirates of the Caribbean and The Haunted Mansion were rides before they became movies. So Tomorrowland is another one of those where it was the ride before it became the movie kind of thing, but it was more of a section before it became a movie. But anyway, because, you know, with Universal Studios is the other way around. They have like the Harry Potter ride now, the Fast and the Furious ride, Transformers, Mummy. Those were all movies before they became rides. But in the process of that conversation, they came up, somebody recommended that we should watch the Disneyland horror movies. And there are two of them. One of them is called Something Wicked This Way Comes, and the other one is called The Watcher in the Woods. And they're supposed to be pant-shittingly horrifying and 100% Disney.
Damn.
Yeah, which is what caught my interest. So, full disclosure, I haven't checked it out yet, but enough people in the area I was in recommended the movie for me to be pretty amped about going to see it. And based on the conversation we'd been having, they had pretty decent taste.
Damn. All right, I'll check it out.
All right. So that's my parting shot. Now we'll get to my topic next time. Once again, we run over with these. It's all right. I'm starting to get quite the list going, so it works out. But anyway, guys, that's been the show, y'all. I'm your host, Jonathan Esther, out of California.
This is Low in the Dark. We'll see you guys next Thursday, maybe.
Maybe. You guys are starting to get the hang of it. You know how this works.
Later.
See y'all later, man.